This video is about white balance and color temperature and how they work in photography. What is white balance? And what is color temperature? White balance is about using the correct camera settings to ensure images are neutral without a color cast caused by different lighting conditions. Firstly, we need to understand color temperature. The colors of red, green and blue make up white light, but the proportions of colors within white light will vary and are measured on the color temperature scale, known as the Kelvin scale. This color temperature scale would tell us how much red and blue there is in the light. It might seem better to call it color content or color light, but the term color temperature refers to heating up a black object, and its color will change the hotter it gets. Imagine heating up the element on an electric cooker. It starts as cold black metal. As it gets hotter, it starts to turn dark red, then lighter red, and eventually becomes white hot. The numbers on the scale represent the temperatures as the color changes. Photographic daylight film is set at a color temperature of 5500 K on the scale and is a good balance of the component colors red, green and blue. It comes from the light on Midsummer's Day at 12 noon in Washington, D.C. This setting of 5500 K is still used with digital imaging. The lower down the scale, there's more red. Higher up the scale, there's more blue in the light. Tungsten light contains much more red light than blue. At sunset, the sun's rays have to pass obliquely through more atmosphere, which filters out blue light, so we see the sunset as red. Candles are even further down the scale, with more red light. On a cloudy day, some red is filtered out, so the light is more blue. Go up into the mountains, and in the snow there is more ultraviolet light, so the white light has a strong blue bias. Water filters out red light, so underwater objects start to look more blue as well. The human eye and brain can automatically white balance the scene, and the brain does a good job smoothing out such discrepancies. Because of this, a piece of white paper will still look white in a vast range of light sources, but the color content differences are still there. Film, however, will notice quite subtle shifts in color. Digital files are even more sensitive, and these changes in the color will certainly show. Setting white balance in the camera. Most digital cameras will offer different settings for color temperature, usually under the heading of white balance. One will be auto. Never use auto, or your color will jump around all over the place and you'll have the devil's own job getting balanced color on your images. Choosing one of the options will apply its color temperature to the image. Incandescent means tungsten light. There are several types of tungsten light. Some are more red than others, so you might want to adjust it slightly later. Fluorescent lights have a discontinuous spectrum, which means they don't have normal red, green and blue proportions. So left unfiltered, your picture will come out a slimy green. If the scene is lit with fluorescence and daylight through windows, decide which is the stronger light source and use that setting. Then make further corrections later. Direct sunlight is photographic daylight, and is obviously the best setting when you have continuous sun for a while. Flash color temperature is often the same as photographic daylight or sunshine. Cloudy is the one I use most. When the sun is in and out behind the clouds often, it's the most convenient. Shaded areas are going to be more blue than out in the sun. Some cameras give a choice of precise color temperatures. This is largely irrelevant unless you've got a color temperature meter to measure the color balance accurately. Although sunsets might be around 3000 K, you wouldn't want that setting, or it'll filter out all the red, rather spoiling the point. Use the standard daylight setting. This option could be useful if you're photographing in candlelight or in the snowy mountains at 10,000 K. Using a grey card for accurate color. After setting the correct white balance option in the camera, there's an additional way to get correct color temperature. That is by using a digital color card, such as this one. There are a number on the market and the colours and greys are very accurate. Don't use the Kodak grey card. It's an 18% grey but is meant for setting exposures and it's not a completely neutral grey. A quality digital grey card will be neutral. It's not the sort of thing to be used often, but there can be special circumstances. The standard white balance didn't give accurate colour for the larger bridge here. Using this smaller digital grey card gave a neutral grey reading in Photoshop, and the same red, green and blue numbers could be applied to the full image. Photograph the scene with a colour card in it, then without the colour card. The grey will give an accurate colour reading in Photoshop. Still life images or copies of things like paintings can benefit from the practice. The cube has white, grey, black, completely dead black and a specular highlight, and some sort of colour card is the only way to get an accurate reproduction here. Long life bulbs are everywhere and compulsory in some places, but they aren't popular. Its spectrum doesn't match any of the normal settings. If it's the only light source, the best way is to use a digital grey card. Look at the colour of this image when first taken. The colour is a bit of a crossover. Doing a colour correction via the digital colour card produces something much better. Adjusting white balance and colour temperature in Camera Raw. Camera Raw has settings to adjust and correct colour temperature. Photographing in RAW is better, as applying these settings to a non-RAW image will certainly give the file a bashing and can affect quality. In the top right, start by setting white balance to As Shot. The number on this slider tells us the colour temperature of the image. The options such as daylight and fluorescent will give the image that colour balance. An image photographed in the wrong setting can be corrected this way. In this image, the camera white balance setting had been left on tungsten by mistake. Changing it to cloudy in Camera Raw gets us out of trouble. It now has a colour temperature of 6500. If we go to daylight, the slider is a bit confusing. It has blue on the left and yellow on the right, rather than red. What it's doing is showing us the colour temperature of the image and the colour it has gone to as a result of the colour temperature. It would be much clearer if they stuck to the normal scientific system as used in the scale we looked at earlier. The way it is, however, everything looks a bit upside down. Ignore the colours on the slider, but go by the colour temperature numbers and particularly by the image on the screen for the result you want. The tint slider can do some fine tuning with magenta to green. This image had the camera white balance set to cloudy, but the weather was sunny. Changing white balance to sunny gives us better colour, although it's rather hard to see on this video. We can make it warmer still by moving the slider up a little more. Well, that's about all you need to know about the colour content of light and how to be in control of it. Using a grey card for accurate colour.